Hey, this is Wendy of Science-yHairBlog and Goose Footprints, talking about hair in Peri-Menopause and Menopause, Part 4, Hair Thinning. It's more than just hormones. The number of hairs on our heads tends to decrease gradually after age 50. This is about why hair loss happens, and a few of the more common and better studied treatments and how they fit into the picture. Between ages 50 and 65, just over 50% of women experience something more noticeable than minor thinning, that is female pattern hair loss or androgenetic alopecia. 50%! It's common, it's normal, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. We're going to cover the components that contribute to hair thinning, strategies to manage, and there's more in the corresponding blog post on the Science-yHairBlog. As always, first, when you notice hair thinning, consult with your healthcare provider. You need to know why you're losing hair and whether it's a symptom of an illness, a medication change, or a skin reaction. Hair loss is an important physical symptom, so don't risk your health treating hair loss if you don't know the cause. So first we're going to talk about the hormone component. Pattern hair loss in women occurs along the crown and the top of the head, around your part, and maybe at your hairline, and it can be more on one side than the other. Androgenetic alopecia is related to androgen activity. Those are hormones more dominant in men in your hair follicles. Estrogen and progesterone protect premenopausal women from the effects of androgen on the hair follicles somewhat. Androgens make hair thicker, like your armpit hair and your leg hair when you're a young teenager, or your eyebrows when you're in your 30s. And they can, in combination with the enzymes that break them down, also make thicker hairs on your head narrow and transparent again. Hair's life cycle can also be shortened from 3 to 5 years to something shorter than that, so your hair maybe not grow as long as it has in the past. Just having androgens present isn't the problem. It's the newness of not having as much estrogen and progesterone to offset the effects of the androgens, and also the way that the growth hormones in your hair follicle behave in the face of age and inflammation, interacting with those androgens that creates a toxic environment in hair, which sounds super complicated, but there's just a whole soup of chemicals going on up there. And that was a mouthful. And then genetics can also make your hair follicles more sensitive to those conditions if pattern hair loss runs in your family. There's also an inflammation component, and this is caused by UV or sunlight exposure, irritants, and that can include normal things like wind, your own scalp flora, yeasts and bacteria, and while they're supposed to be there and help maintain your skin's defense system, they can also cause some oxidative stress or outright irritation, inflammation, especially if you're a person who has allergies. Think of this as cumulative stress on your scalp. UV light from the sun, chronic low-grade inflammation from skin irritants like fragrance, hairstyling products, even heat from hair dryers, hair curling irons, they all come together to create a situation that is more difficult to keep hair follicles productive of full-size hairs that live out their full potential, a multi-year lifespan. There's a nutritional component. Now keep in mind, selling you supplements promising hair growth is a lucrative but unregulated market. Almost any claim can be made about a product as long as it doesn't claim to treat a disease. And I'll be covering those in an upcoming blog post and video. Taking high-dose vitamins and minerals comes with potential risks. For example, high-dose biotin can cause a blood test that's used to determine whether you've had a heart attack be inaccurate, and that could potentially delay life-saving treatment. There's good evidence that having low, deficient, or insufficient ferritin and vitamin D levels may lead to hair loss, and supplementing these according to your healthcare provider's guidance is important for your health, and that may or may not lead to improvements in hair density. Having a B vitamin deficiency, biotin, folate, pantothenic acid, vitamin B12, hair loss can improve if you're deficient in those when you take supplements. Most of us aren't deficient in those, but in the cases of intestinal disease, limited diets, food allergy, inhibited absorption due to medication interactions, deficiency can be a problem, and correcting that may improve your hair density. Zinc deficiency can also cause hair loss, and correcting that may improve hair density, but studies of zinc supplementation for hair density when there is no deficiency have had really mixed results. There's a vascular component to hair loss. Hair follicles need a steady supply of blood. So exercise is one way to improve circulation. But scalp may actually need a boost, and this is where two treatments come in, topical caffeine and topical minoxidil or Rogaine. Both increase circulation to the scalp by opening up blood vessels. Massage can do the same. There was a 2016 study in the Journal of Plastic Surgery that found a mechanical tool for massage increased individual hair thickness. It went from 85 to 92 microns average, which you would probably notice that as your hair is maybe standing up a little bit better. That was 170 RPMs. That's a vigorous massage, and the researchers noted that it may have caused some initial hair loss in the men with short hair that they tested it in. The metabolic component to hair loss is related to the vascular component. Narrowing of the arteries due to cholesterol plaques, having high blood sugar or insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome are systemic health issues that may worsen any form of hair thinning. They need to be addressed for health reasons, but they're a good example of how hair thinning provides an overall picture of a person's health. Managing your diet and lifestyle and using treatments your healthcare provider recommends to promote blood vessel and heart health, prevent strokes, prevent type 2 diabetes may also be a benefit to your hair density in the long term. There's a stress component to hair loss. Illness, surgery, loss or grief, divorce, job loss, medication, whether you're starting a new one, stopping one, changing a medication, and exposure to irritants or allergens. Any of these can trigger what's called telogen effluvium, when large number of hairs move into the falling out phase and then start falling out. And it can take months to actually see the hair begin to fall after that exposure, and it can continue for months. And hair may or may not regrow back to its previous density, depending on all these other components and what they're doing at any point in time. So some of the common treatments for hair loss address these issues that we're talking about. Minoxidil is one. It increases circulation and may inhibit androgen activity in your hair follicles, targeting two of the components we're talking about. This works in just over half the people who use it and can increase hair counts, which is like the number of hairs per square inch or centimeter, anywhere from 10 to 30%. Men and women can use the 5% strength, and it can be applied once daily, even though twice daily is recommended. That's totally unrealistic for a lot of us. Minoxidil is not for people on blood pressure medication or with heart disease without asking your doctor first. Topical caffeine is another that increases scalp circulation and may inhibit androgen activity. There was a 2018 study done on men with androgenetic alopecia, so on actual human scalps, where they used a 0.2% caffeine solution twice a day, and it increased the number of hairs in the growing phase by almost 11%, which was similar to the results they got using minoxidil in the same study. So studies of caffeine are mixed. It may not produce as robust results as minoxidil, but it has been demonstrated to be absorbed through the skin when applied in shampoos or serums. The shampoo needs to stay on for 2 minutes. And what could be easier than shampooing in your hair loss treatment? I don't have numbers yet for what percent of people it works for, but that may be coming because caffeine is in a lot of shampoos these days. So anti-inflammatory shampoos, these are dandruff shampoos. They have a side hustle. You get the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effect, and that can have a hair density maintaining benefit. There was, in one case in particular, there was a trial with 3 anti-dandruff shampoos, 1% ketoconazole, or zinc pyrithione, or pyroxetone olamine, and it reduced hair shedding by an average of 15% and increased the number of hairs in the active growth phase by an average of 7%. And the ketoconazole and pyroxetone olamine may bring some of those vellus or those little transparent baby hairs back to normal width. So this is another hair density maintenance that's really easy to use and work into your routine. Preventive maintenance, this is really important. If you're provoking your hair to go into a shedding cycle with repeated physical stress, like not getting enough sleep, or using a hair color that's causing scalp irritation, you are sabotaging any other efforts you might take to maintain hair density. Scalp health matters. If you thought the part about dandruff shampoos sounded weird, or the only dandruff shampoo you've ever used was cosmetically awful, you might be surprised by the options available now. I have a page on my blog dedicated to these products for itchy and flaky and bumpy scalps. So preventive maintenance is protecting your scalp from the sun by wearing a hat, protecting your scalp from high heat, cold, and wind. Put up a hood, put on a scarf. Stop using products including hair color that increase shedding. Patch test your hair color. If you think the ingredients changed, patch test. Get enough protein. Dietary requirements for protein increase after age 50. Get at least 6 hours of sleep. That's the number where it definitely increases your risk of having worse hair loss. Eat a diverse, nutritious diet so you don't run into those nutrient deficiencies, and see your healthcare provider about symptoms of new hair loss or changing hair loss, worsening hair loss. So watch parts 1 to 3 on this channel, subscribe for updates. Please share this with your friends and family, and check out the website, Science-yHairBlog, for more.